So this is the G4, LG's latest flagship device, but is it worth upgrading? Let's go ahead and find out in my latest review. What is up guys, Joe here back with another video, and today we're going to be checking out the LG G4. Now I've been using this device for a couple of weeks now and I have to say I'm quite impressed with it. But first I want to take a look and check out the hardware side. So if you notice, the G4 is a pretty uniquely designed device, just like its predecessor, which was a G3. The G4 actually has a similar design. On the sides where we normally would have buttons on another smartphone, you actually don't have it on the G4. But looking up top, we have our IR blaster, our infrared, and we have a microphone. And looking at the bottom, we have a micro USB port for charging, and then we have a microphone and a headphone port as well. Now if you notice on the back of the G4, we're going to have a 16 megapixel camera that has optical image stabilization and laser autofocus, which is going to be great when you want to shoot those quick photos. We'll go into more detail later in the video, but we also have our LED flash, and below that is where our buttons sit, which is going to be the volume up and down, and also our power/sleep button. And at the bottom of the device, that is going to be where our speaker grill sits at. Now as far as display goes, this is going to be rocking a 5.5 inch IPS Quantum QHD display with a 2560 by 1440 resolution, coming in at 534 ppi. Now LG claims that the phone screen is actually 25% brighter and has a 20% wider color range than the previous QHD screens on their mobile devices, and with the contrast being improved by 50% over last year's G3. Now personally, not using the G3, I really wouldn't be able to compare, but I will have to say the G4 screen is something pretty impressive. Now software wise, the G4 is going to have Android 5.1 Lollipop and also has the LG's custom user interface, which is going to be the UX 4.0. It's going to have features like Smart Bulletin. This is where you'll be able to get quick information such as LG Health, of how many calories you burned and how many steps you've taken throughout the day, your calendar events, a music player, your Q remote. Now the G4 also is capable of doing dual windows, so if you are a multitasker, you can do so. I found this being useful at times. I didn't really use it much, but whenever I needed it, it was there for me. So you can do things like text messages and watch YouTube at the same time, which is always great. Or other things. If you want to go ahead and write a Word document while you do some research, you can do that as well. So it can be convenient for those who need it. It also has smart settings, which is a feature I actually enjoyed using. What it does, it adjusts your phone's function based upon certain triggers like your phone's usage and connection settings and location. So for example, when you're arriving or leaving home. Also, when you connect your device to Bluetooth, for example your car, you can set it to open up an app automatically, so your favorite music application. Even when you plug in some headphones, it'll automatically open a application. So I have it set to my favorite music app, which is going to be Spotify and SoundCloud. So I thought smart settings was pretty useful. You can change up different things depending location and things of that sort. Now with the G4 having the buttons placed on the back, it actually feels good in the hand. It feels normal. With it having a slight curve on the back, it sits perfectly in your hand when you are holding it, and with your index finger being placed right in the middle where the buttons are. So I'm actually a fan of the buttons being placed right there at that certain spot. Now the G4 does have some shortcut keys, and what that means is when your phone is locked, you can simply double press the volume up button or the volume down button, and then it'll activate a different thing. So if you double press the volume up, it'll actually activate the memo, so you can go ahead and jot down some notes quickly, or you can double press the volume down button so you can quickly access your camera. So if you want to take those quick photos, you can do that by using the shortcut key. Now speaking of the camera, the G4 has a 16 megapixel rear facing camera with OIS, aka optical image stabilization, and laser autofocus, which is going to be great when you want to shoot those quick photos. Now the laser autofocus helps the camera focus in an instant, even in low light settings, and it does have a 1.8 aperture low light lens, so it will give you faster shutter speeds and sharper, clear images in almost any type of light. Now for those of you who are more on the professional side of photography, I think the G4 is something to consider and check out because of the manual mode that it has. You can control the white balance, you can even manually focus on a subject, and even change the ISO and shutter speed. Also, something that is really neat about the G4 is the fact that it can shoot in RAW. So when it comes to actual editing, you can really take advantage of it because it's going to store a lot of information in that certain photo, giving you the ability to really edit your photo for those who shoot RAW. Now, when using the G4 and taking photos, I would have to say the images came out very crispy, with it having a 16 megapixel camera sensor, optical image stabilization, and laser autofocus. It was very easy to capture those moments quickly. Now, I shot majority of the time in auto mode, and when I captured an image, this was the variety of images I took. I took in between having a lot of light to having a little bit of low light. So here's a little comparison between the G4 and another device that I've been using also as a daily driver, the iPhone 6 Plus. Now, in comparison, the G4 is going to have a 16 megapixel camera and the iPhone 6 Plus is going to have an 8 megapixel camera. Both of them are going to have OIS, aka optical image stabilization, and I'll let you be the judge of which one looks better to your eye. Now, the G4 is able to capture in UHD, aka 4K, so if you are wanting to do that, you can actually shoot in 4K. Now, if you would like some footage of 4K coming from the G4, let me know with a comment down below. But when it came to shooting just regular 1080p at 30 frames per second on the G4, it was something that really needs to be worked on, and this is all going to be due to software. The image stabilization on this is not that great. You'll see it wobbly when you are walking. So the whole purpose of optical image stabilization is to have that stabilizer, so when you are moving, it can still capture the footage or capture the image even if you are moving. But whenever I tend to move and walk with this camera and taking video, it is very warped, and just playing it back and watching it, it made me dizzy. Like, physically it made me dizzy. I don't know. This is something that really needs to be worked on, and I could see it being fixed in a future update because it all has to do with software. So hopefully in the future they do release an update. Hopefully the next update, that'd be best. But again, here's a little comparison between the G4 and the iPhone 6 Plus. Now, when it comes to the front-facing camera, the G4 has an 8 megapixel camera, and it's great for selfie. It actually has a thing called Selfie light, and that way you'll be able to take good selfies with some good lighting because it actually reflects from the screen. It lights up. And also for you selfie takers, it does have a wide angle lens, so that way you can capture images with you and your friends in the photo. Now, a feature of the G4 is going to be gesture shutter, so it makes selfies easy to shoot simply by holding your hand and then making a fist to capture the photo. Now, if you open and close your fist twice, it'll take 4 selfies in a row. Now, if you want to have a little bit of cover up on your face, it does have like a beauty feature, so it'll cover up those blemishes and things of that sort. But that's something you can do as well with the front-facing camera. Now let's go ahead and talk about internals and processors. So the G4 is rocking a 1.8 gigahertz Snapdragon 808 processor with 3 gigabytes of RAM. Now, for those of you who are interested in numbers, in Geekbench, the G4 scored a single core score of 1088 and a multi-core score of 3504. So it's definitely a competitor with other flagship devices out there. Now, watching videos on this display, again, the display is quite stunning, and when it came to gaming, I didn't see any type of lag or anything of that sort. The G4 performed very well. Now, internally, it's going to have 32 gigabytes of storage with expandable memory, and that leads me to my next point: battery life, because it's in the back. So the G4 is kind of going to be one of the last standing devices that has high-end specs that's able to still remove the back plate. Now, speaking of the back plate, it's going to be made out of plastic, and you're actually able to replace those with some other ones like a white plastic backing. They're both going to have a little subtle diamond pattern on the back. Now if you want to go a little fancier, you can actually pick up one of their brown leathers or black leather backings. Now with it still having a removable back plate, as we spoke, it is going to have expandable storage, and it supports a micro SD up to 2 terabytes. Now if you do find a 2 terabyte micro SD at this moment, I guarantee you'll be spending a lot of cash. But it's nice that it's actually able to support that. Now lastly is the battery. It's going to have a 3000 milliamp battery that's removable. But from my experience, I wouldn't see myself carrying an additional battery to replace it whenever I'm out and about, because this battery did last me throughout a day. It typically lasted me about 10 to 12 hours, and that was on medium use from using Spotify, SoundCloud, text messaging, and also YouTube and social media like Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. So those kinds of tasks, it lasted me throughout the day. And when it came to charging, it actually supports quick charging. So you're gonna get that quick charge if you are in a hurry. You're gonna get a battery percentage boost with just a few minutes of charging. So it's great that the G4 actually supports that, because I'm a real big fan of that on other devices that do support it as well. So overall, what's my final verdict? The LG G4 is definitely something to consider if you are looking to upgrade. It has a stunning display, the camera's great. Besides the whole video thing with optical image stabilization being a little crazy, you also have great battery life. So if you're looking for those 3 key things, the G4 is again something to definitely consider in your next phone purchase. But other than that, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. As always, hit the like button if you did enjoy this review, as it not only lets me know that you did like it, but it supports the channel as well. And if you're not yet following me on social media like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google+, all of my links are down below. As always, go ahead and follow me on those. I'm really active on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to follow me on that for future updates on my latest videos. And if you feel like being awesome, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when I come out with all of my future videos. Other than that, guys, appreciate your support very much, and I'll catch you all on the next one. All right, peace.